Here's what's coming next. It's more than exercise, it's fun. Stay in shape and aerobicize. Fitness never looked or felt so good.
With programming variety from innovative original shows to whatever you want in movies.
A special task that is theirs alone, a duty to perform.
(1991), Cincinnati, Ohio. It was a warm summer morning in Eden Park. Tracey Wright, a young woman trying to rebuild her life, was driving down Fulton Street. She had recently made the brave decision to leave her abusive husband, Anthony Thomas. She had filed charges against him, obtained a protection order, and even taken his gun. She believed that these steps would keep Anthony Thomas from coming after her, but even after this she was far from safe. Anthony Thomas' response to her filing for a restraining order was chilling. He told Tracey, "Paper doesn't stop bullets." It was an ominous foreshadowing of what was to come. While driving on that summer day in Eden Park, Tracey's car was struck hard from behind. The impact forced her vehicle off the road, leaving her shocked and disoriented. She had no idea what was going on. For a moment, she thought it might have been an accident. This is when the horrible reality appeared right before her. Tracey saw Anthony Thomas stepping out of the car that had hit hers. This wasn't an accident at all, it was a trap. She had to think fast if there was any chance of her getting out of the nightmare she found herself in. Terrified, Tracey jumped out of her car and ran up a nearby hill, desperate to escape. Anthony followed, relentlessly chasing after her. He raised his gun and fired, hitting her in the back. Tracey collapsed to the ground, in horrific pain, unable to move. But Anthony wasn't done. He caught up to her, lifted her weakened body, and slammed her back down to the ground. For a moment, she thought he might leave as she heard his footsteps. He was walking away. But then he stopped and turned back. He stood over Tracey, aimed his gun again, and shot her in the neck at point-blank range. It was a miracle that she was not killed by the multiple bullet wounds. Tracey lay there, bleeding and helpless. She was pregnant at the time, and her injuries were so severe, her unborn child did not survive. As she drifted in and out of consciousness, she thought she was about to die. But she didn't. Despite being shot in the back, neck, and hand, and losing a finger in the process, Tracey survived that cold-hearted, brutal violence that was inflicted on her by Anthony Thomas. The physical damage was devastating, and the emotional wounds ran just as deep. Her pregnancy ended as a result of the attack, making Anthony Thomas not only a domestic abuser, but a child killer as well. "I almost died," she said. "I lay there in my blood thinking I would never live again, that I would never get up." Anthony Thomas was arrested soon after. He was convicted of attempted murder, aggravated assault, and felonious assault, receiving a maximum sentence of 25 years, with an additional 3 years for using a firearm in the attack. For Tracey, the aftermath was a constant battle. "Even now, 23 years later, I still have nightmares," she admitted. "I wake up some nights in a cold sweat, trembling and crying because I think someone's trying to kill me." Despite everything, Tracey refused to let Anthony's actions define her. With the support of her family and faith, she found strength to move forward. "I need to stand tall and proud," she said. "To let Anthony know that he didn't win, that I'm the survivor. I'm winning now, and he can't control my life anymore." Even with him behind bars, Tracey lived with the fear of his possible release. The Hamilton County Prosecutor's Office added Anthony's case to its parole watch section, identifying him as one of the most dangerous offenders eligible for early release. Tracey's story is one of survival and incredible resilience. The violence she endured left permanent scars, but it didn't take away her strength or her will to live. Though the memory of that day will always stay with her, Tracey continues to move forward, determined to live as a survivor and not a victim.
I thought, with this restraining order, I'm protected. Nothing can happen to me.
But Thomas had the last word in court.
He told me that paper doesn't stop bullets and that he was going to get me.
Cincinnati police are calling it a domestic dispute.
Thomas kept his promise on a July day in 1991. He followed Tracey in his car, then rammed into her car as she drove through Eden Park.
And he got out and ran over, and we started running up the hill, going that way. As I was running away, he proceeded to chase after me, and he shot me in the back. When he shot me in the back, that lifted me up and threw me to the ground, and I couldn't move.
Tracey says Thomas started to walk away, then turned and came back.
She's still alive, and I promised to kill her because she's not going to be with me, so I need to go back. So he turned back around and came over and stood over me, point blank range, and shot me here in my neck.
Tracey lost her fetus and a finger struck by a bullet, but lived through her attempted murder. Thomas was sentenced up to 25 years for that crime and 3 more for using a gun. Yesterday, she told the parole board about her fears that Thomas will try to finish the job if released. The prosecutor's office is opposed to his parole, too.
We really hope that the parole board denies him parole at this point. His maximum sentence would go until 2020, February of 2020, and I think he's well deserving of every minute he spends in jail.
She really thought she was dead that day, lying on the sidewalk in Eden Park. And he thought she was dead too.
Right.
And that he could just walk away and not have to pay for it. And then we talk about these parole watches, and the parole board really does listen to the community. So if there's a voice out there to back up Tracey, you're going to tell them how to do that.
And I admire her strength so much, to say that he does not win,
And, I wanted to tell you this, though. I forgot to tell this in the story, that the reason she's alive, a nurse, an emergency room nurse, happened to be jogging through the park.
Wow.
And started working on her right away.
Oh, wow.
Her angel.
That is awesome.
And I'm thinking, oh my God, he said he was gonna kill me. He's gonna kill me. I'm gonna die now.
Nor will they. A local woman living in fear that the man who already shot her once will come back and finish the job. That woman took her plea to the parole board, demanding that they keep the man who tried to kill her more than 2 decades ago locked up.
Now, that man is the woman's former husband, and 23 years later, he's asking for his freedom. WLWT News 5's Curtis Fuller is leading the way for us tonight with her plea to the parole board.
23 years now, I have nightmares. I wake up some nights and I'm in a cold sweat, trembling, and I'm crying because I think someone's trying to kill me.
July 27th, 1991, in broad daylight, Wright was driving along Fulton Street when her car was rammed from behind and forced off the road. What she thought was just a freak accident became a fight for her life. The person driving the other car was her husband at the time, Anthony Thomas.
I exited the car. I had the protection order. I even had the gun because I took his gun thinking if he knew I had his gun and this protection order, he won't come for me.
Wright took off running. Thomas caught up with her, tackled her, and then took the gun. Thomas shot her multiple times and left her for dead. Wright now lives with the constant reminder of that attack. She was shot in the neck, in the back, and in the hand.
I almost died. I laid there in my blood thinking that I would never live again, that I would never get up.
Thomas was arrested and convicted of attempted murder, aggravated assault, and felonious assault. If he serves the maximum, he'll be released in 2020, but his release could come sooner. The Hamilton County Prosecutor's Office has now placed this case on its website. Parole Watch lists the most serious cases and the names of inmates a prosecutor is fighting against their early release.
For this kind of a case where, he absolutely meant to kill her. Thank goodness that did not happen.
This is something that has always hung over my head. It keeps me in a point in my life where I can't fully enjoy my life because I never know what's going to happen and what's going to come.
Tracey Wright says she's fighting to keep Thomas locked up because she's lived with scars for the past 23 years. Physical ones on the outside and those you can't see on the inside.
This will be the 4th time Thomas has gone before the parole board. Tracey Wright, by the way, was also pregnant at the time of that assault and lost the baby.